It's like we need like a president that could represent like the majority of America, which is like lower class, middle class people. And it's like if we need somebody that would like really represent us, and I think that would be more like a younger person, kind of like almost your age, you know?
I think probably the sweet spot's probably 50s. I mean, the president, they go in, they're like mid 50s, they get out, they're 60. It's like, all right, you're kind of worn out. Let's get a new one. But
Like you said, around 50, I would say probably like 40s.
well, I don't know. Anyway, so maybe with the right person, I don't know. Well, I mean, JFK was in his 40s, so whatever you think about it. But so I think the sweet spot for it is you want a person who grew up normal and like knows how much a gallon of milk costs and how to put gas in their car and stuff.
Yeah.
And then made a lot of money, but isn't greedy. You know what I mean? It's like they can take care of themselves. If they already have money, it lessens the need for them to corrupt themselves in the public service. You know what I mean? So it's like if they're comfortable, at least, like, yeah, they might want to get more rich, but what we get are these people who come into Congress or the president's different, I guess. But if they come into Congress, they start their career and they're like basically professionals. It might be a lawyer or something like that. They come out of Congress and they're like millionaires because it's like the stock trading and shit. The stock trading and then other, just being a part of that scene, I don't know exactly what happens, but they end up having more money and then they make more money afterwards too. So like that's the pattern. We need people that have like already made money, but started off normal, didn't grow up like rich kid. That's what I feel is good personally.
Yeah. I agree.
Ideally, maybe someone who's been in the military. I don't want to be a fascist and be like, yeah, I got to be in the military to be the president. But like, it doesn't suck if the president has been in the military, especially if they were enlisted. That would be cool. I don't even know if it's been a long time,
Yes, because it's like not many people know like any of the stuff that's like we've like been through just deploying and stuff. It's like they can only imagine.
Hi, everybody. This is John back from Real Veteran News here with my good old Ranger buddy friend, Steve Viteri. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, what's up, John? Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it. It's been a while since we seen each other. I think the last time we seen each other was you shot a video of my
proposal.
Proposal to my wife. It was really awesome. Fun. You did a 360 whole video thing. Was awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. And then we went to those botanical gardens the next day in Florida.
Yeah, it's Florida. So it's actually kind of cold here right now. How cold is it over there?
It's been relatively warm in DC. We've had some nice days.
Nice.
But, it's February, so it's not the best. So, Steve, I want you to introduce yourself real quick. And you haven't been on the show before, but I will say that I'm pretty you're the first 11 Bravo, I think, on the show. Right?
Yeah, it's infantry. Just in case people didn't know.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that because I have my 11 Charlies and my 11 Bravo, but you're the first 11 Bravo that's been on. So welcome, 11 Bravos.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I met John back in the day when DECO first started. Third Ranger Bat. Well, I was in DECO first, and then John. I think he came from another company. Came from Mortars. And
come from Mortars, yeah.
Yep. Then we trained for a while. Deployed to Afghanistan. We're in a couple different spots over there: Kandahar, Sharona. It was a good time. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But lots of stories. Just thinking about it just brings back so many memories of stuff. It's like,
man. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. You want to continue on so people get to know you a little bit? Finish introducing yourself.
Yeah, that's it. So
like
from Florida.
What's like modern day Steve? Yeah, we were in the Army together, but like, what do you?
Okay, I got you. Modern day Steve. So, married. I got a little baby girl, 6 months old now. Her name's Raina. Pretty much right now, I'm studying to get my insurance license so I could sell auto and home insurance for State Farm. And once I start doing that, we actually plan on moving up north, probably Connecticut again. because the education's so much better up there than Florida down here in the South. So plans are hopefully move up north, better education for a baby. That's pretty much about it. I got 2 little dogs, Teddy and Zoe. You've met Teddy, the
the dog.
and Zoe's a newer addition. She's a little white Lhasa Apso pup. She weighs about 10 pounds.
Okay, cool. Well, can't wait to meet her. Starting with the most important news, like usual, we had 3 KIAs in Jordan at Tower 22. And that was last week. I'm interested in Biden's response and how he handled this, which I don't think was great. And I mean, he obviously did a super shitty job with Kabul, right? I mean, you saw that with it when the Kabul bodies came back. Like, that was like real shitty with the watch checking and stuff. I don't really know what was going on there. But this time, he didn't do anything like that. Obviously, the people around him cultivated his whatever. But initially, they were like, well, when the bodies come back, is he going to be there? And the White House was like, we don't know. It's like, you don't know? Is there something better to do? Like, what is this man doing? You know what I mean? And then eventually they were like, yeah, he's going to come. But what the fuck, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he probably should be there to see the bodies. But I guess also at the same time, there's a lot of other stuff going on. He's involved with Ukraine. Now he's also with like Israel, all that stuff coming down. But I think he probably would be nice if I was a veteran and I did die. I'd like to have my commander in chief there present. And I think it'd probably also be better for the families. They would probably appreciate it a lot. And then they would feel like their children died for a purpose. And it's appreciated by the commander in chief. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's obviously not, but we can all tell that. But, the politics, he's got to go do it or whatever. I don't know if you didn't see this. I didn't post it up, but I did see that one of the Gold Star mothers, this woman down there in Georgia, whose daughter was just killed. I can't remember exactly whose mother it was, but I definitely remember watching it. It was on the TV. And Biden called her up on the phone, and he sounded to me like he'd just woken up from a nap. And it was like almost like he had to. I feel like he kind of like psyched himself up for this phone call. I'll put it in the video here, and I know you didn't get a chance to see it really, but it just stuck with me.
We're promoting her posthumously to sergeant.
Oh wow, that is the best news I've heard today. Thank you so much. You don't know how much that means to us.
Sergeant Sanders. God, she has the picture I'm looking at, she has such a beautiful smile. God love her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
She did. She absolutely did light up every room she was in.
But it's like this conversation, it was like he kind of had to like psych himself up into like, I'm putting my sad face on, like my boohoo face and stuff like that. And it's like, I get you're the president and stuff. Like, you can't FaceTime this woman. Like, really? What do you mean, like your fucking pajamas or something? You know what I mean? Like, why couldn't he FaceTime this woman? I just don't get it. Like, it's like calling into like a morning radio show, and he's just like, I'm so sorry. And then he went through his greatest hits. Oh, my son in, Iraq and burn pits, and and his wife and everything, and his daughter. And he's like, I'm not saying he's like a one-upper, but he, honestly, you're so old and you've told these stories so many times, and people do feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for him on some things, but it's just like, just allude to it. Just feel like, you know what happened in my family. You don't have to like go through it over and over again. And you're not even on a video call. And he's supposed to be like this consoler in chief type person. Or the grief president or something. It just doesn't seem like a good performance to me. I know you didn't get a chance to see it, but
yeah, I can kind of imagine what you're saying. Like, I believe, I do agree with you. He is getting old, and it kind of concerns me the amount of medications and stuff that he's probably taking just to keep himself alive. So if in a situation like this, I believe that he should probably get one of his aides to write him a script, and then he'd probably just be better off reading it. Because if he's just off talking on his own, who knows what he might start rambling. So they should have probably had better control of him and given him a little speech, something that would make it easier for him. But hey, man, being that old, you don't know what kind of medicines you're on. You might be hindering his mindset stuff. But
He's obviously on medications. And stuff.
but a Skype call would have been really nice for the mother, at least, to see person talking to him. Same as the 3 guys that died. If they would have, at least their parents would have got a Skype call, that would have been nice.
There's like 2 young women and then an older sergeant, a male sergeant who was like in his 40s, basically like our age. And then the young women are in their early 20s. 34 people also injured. I think like 7 or 8 of them had to be taken out of the country. I didn't like some of the ways people from the government were talking about it, and Biden was talking about. He says, we had a tough day in the Middle East. It's like, we didn't really have a tough day. I mean, we'll talk about it. There's a slip up and there was mistakes made and stuff like that. But it's just like the inevitable culmination of shitty policy. You know what I mean? It's just like Benghazi and Kabul, and I mean, I can think the Korengal Valley, all these places where they take young people, and for some reason, like some general politician, whatever, decides that they need to go into this one place, and they just get hung out to dry, and the enemy is just like licking their chops, and they just try to kill Americans. You know what I mean? And you're taking these young people, and you're obviously not protecting them.
They're not, and they're probably not even trained well enough.
Well, I thought they were intelligence. Apparently they were heavy equipment operators. I'm sure they're trained fine, but I mean, they were sleeping in their fucking beds.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't know if they were reserve or guard. They weren't full time, but they were like specialized equipment operators. They probably volunteered to go on this deployment, I would assume.
Yeah.
But it's like, they're sleeping in their beds. Now, talking about the response to it, the reason why they're saying it takes so long is because Biden wants a Goldilocks response, from like the kids thing, or like the porridge is too hot, the porridge is cold. They're trying to like respond, in a specific way because they have to do something or whatever. But basically, they'll drop some bombs on some mud huts or whatever, or some buildings, and like they kill a few guys or whatever. But all the leaders are gone, and they're not going to really do anything effective. And
it's just almost for a show. It's like, all right, we're going to go hit a target, blow it up, and it's like, all right, maybe that'll satisfy the people that are wanting a little action and stuff. But yeah, you're gonna have like the people that say, oh, if you're going all at war, that's what he should do. That's like what some of the like Lindsey Graham, like with his comment, hit him hard. He's trying to just start a war with them, and it's like you can't make both sides happy. You got to, like you said, you got to make them both happy and be neutral. I mean, people died. I think people need to die back, in my opinion. You got to do something about it.
I mean, I get that. I get the tit for tat thing, but it's like, it's a weird situation, in my opinion, and the response, because they shoot drones at them every day, or very frequently, but they know that essentially we shoot them all down. And so it's like these guys are like shooting drones in there, and like, yeah, they want to kill us, and look, it's a legitimate military target. It's a military base out in this country, and it's not like they're like picking off people in Times Square or something like that, or on Main Street. I mean, these women wearing military uniforms, and William Rivers, the sergeant too. But it's like, we lost some people over there, but it wasn't like some Rangers died all kitted up, or some Delta guys died in a helicopter crash or something like that. Like we kind of expect that sometimes. It's cost of doing business. But, this incident was like kind of, it hit below the belt a little bit, because it's like these women are like, we weren't really expecting to have women killed in their sleep on duty, basically. I mean, it's kind of fucked up. So
yeah.
It's a weird situation, and it's like, what do you do? And they weren't really like trying to do it, and then they all run away, and then we can't really attack Iran because we don't want to fight Iran. Biden doesn't, and like, thank God that they don't go crazy. Lindsey Graham says, "Hit Iran now, hit them hard." It's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like, where are you trying to hit? Like, do you want to try to hit the capital of Iran and just go to? That would just be a horrible situation for everybody.
Yeah. It's like New York City or like Tokyo or something. Like Tehran. I mean, it's like, what are you going to do? You're just going to like kill some of them? I mean, how's that going to solve anything? You know, I mean, they have to negotiate with these people. I mean, like, I just don't understand the path to this ending.
No, I hear you on that. It's gonna be a tough call for the president on that one, because he's gonna try to make everybody happy, but he's got to just make a wise decision and listen to his advisors and weigh out the outcomes. You know.
I think his advisors are the problem, a lot of the problem. And then he himself is not a good strategic thinker. He doesn't have vision for the future, and his mind is old, and he's stuck in the past. So it's really not, probably the worst thing out of all of it is this man's stuck in the past. Like, so he's living with the foreign policy of like the 80s, 90s, maybe when he was vice president. I mean, basically his political mental development ended somewhere like probably when Hillary Clinton beat him. He's never really had like a vision for America, right? I mean, he's just like
he's been there so long.
He's a union whip. I mean, Delaware's like a union state, and it's just like he's like a backslapper. He's not a foreign policy dude, and he's old.
Yeah, that's the part that I don't like. He's just like, you're getting too old to be the president. There needs to be like, well, I mean, because there are some old people that still have a lot of that are still like witty and stuff, and like their brains working properly. And then there's other old people that are just declining horribly. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's people who are in the 90s are really brilliant or very sharp. I mean, you can be brilliant. I mean, everyone's going to decline. We're all going to die. We're all going to get old or die or whatever. But it's like we have this like huge problem in American politics where you are more politically powerful the older you are. You also, your mind is like declining. So like our most powerful political people are older and like trending older, and like it's not going to change because the older you are, like you have more money, you have more friends, you have more people, you have more name recognition because you've just been around longer, you know. And then also your peers are going to be old because you're the same age as them. Old people are more politically active, I guess you could say, because they have more free time and they've been voting their whole life or on and off or whatever. But like a young kid is like, just got out of high school, is like not like, oh, damn, got to vote, you know? I mean, it's just the system is weighted towards old people. And then we have this byproduct of that where we get these like political like dynasty families now, kind of like, you know, the Kennedys, obviously, that's like the original political dynasty, but they're essentially have petered out. Now, obviously, we had the Bushes, who are probably also are petering out for the most part, unless someone else comes along. And then essentially the Obamas, you know, the Clintons. They only have Chelsea. The Clintons don't really have someone to like hand the family fucking political legacy down to, because Chelsea's like not, you know, I mean, she's going to be in politics, but she's not going to, she might run for Congress. I don't fucking know, but just one anyway. And then you have the Obamas. They have two daughters and obviously Michelle. We'll talk about Michelle at the end of the show. I'm not going to talk about it now. And then you have the Trumps now. And so it's like, because these old people build up their name, everybody knows Trump, everybody knows Obama. Now that name, it's like all the name, because on the ballot, when you vote and the people who really aren't paying attention are just voting to vote, all you see is that last name. Like that last name is so powerful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's how you hear in the news and stuff.
It's stupid how we set this up. We prop these old people up. We let them pass their name down and their political legacy down to their fucking idiot kids. And then the whole process is just focused on this piece of paper where you just have their name, you know, and it's like, I don't remember anyone's name. It's just a bunch of random names in Obama. It's like, fuck, who am I going to vote for? Obviously, the person like you've heard of before or whatever, or it's two people or whatever. But I mean, the system's fucked up.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with you.
Okay, you're talking about old people. I mean, what do you think about like all of the oldest people in the country? The generals are old. They're not as old as the politicians, but they're old. And the politicians are old, and it's just like, and then, you know, they want to work with old people too. So like the president's old, everyone's going to be older because he doesn't want to work with young people. He wants for people who's older, you know, and then there's no new fresh ideas, no fresh thinking, right? Yeah,
it's all just the old minds. I think like we need a young president. We need somebody like somebody that's I mean, because it's kind of hard to say, because it's like I want a president that's like a normal person, not somebody rich. Or not somebody like that came from money, so that hasn't had to struggle. It's like we need like a president that could represent like the majority of America, which is like lower class, middle class people. And it's like if we need somebody that would like really represent us, and I think that would be more like a younger person, kind of like almost your age, you know?
I think probably the sweet spot's probably 50s. I mean, the president, they go in, they're like mid 50s, they get out, they're 60. It's like, all right, you're kind of worn out. Let's get a new one. But
Like you said, around 50, I would say probably like 40s.
well, I don't know. Anyway, so maybe with the right person, I don't know. Well, I mean, JFK was in his 40s, so whatever you think about it. But so I think the sweet spot for it is you want a person who grew up normal and like knows how much a gallon of milk costs and how to put gas in their car and stuff.
Yeah.
And then made a lot of money, but isn't greedy. You know what I mean? It's like they can take care of themselves. If they already have money, it lessens the need for them to corrupt themselves in the public service. You know what I mean? So it's like if they're comfortable, at least, like, yeah, they might want to get more rich, but what we get are these people who come into Congress or the president's different, I guess, but if they come into Congress, they start their career and they're like basically professionals. It might be a lawyer or something like that. They come out of Congress and they're like millionaires because it's like the stock trading and shit. The stock trading and then other, just being a part of that scene, I don't know exactly what happens, but they end up having more money and then they make more money afterwards too. So like that's the pattern. We need people that have like already made money, but started off normal, didn't grow up like rich kid. That's what I feel is good personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Ideally, maybe someone who's been in the military. I don't want to be a fascist and be like, you got to be in the military to be the president. But like, it doesn't suck if the president has been in the military, especially if they were enlisted. That would be cool. I don't even know if it's been a long time,
Yes, because it's like not many people know like any of the stuff that's like we've like been through just deploying and stuff. It's like they can only imagine, but
they have no connection. They have no connection to it unless they have like a military family or they're like a military spouse or their kid, maybe like their kids in the military. But like realistically, like you need to like be in the military when you're young in order to understand what's happening. I'm not saying you have to be enlisted or officer. I mean, we were all in the military. I mean, people make more money or their jobs are different and stuff. But like it's that, being on a military base, being in the traffic jam in the morning, training, helicopters going over all the time. Like, weekends with your friends, going to the beach, like whatever. I mean, it's like the military experience of young people. Like you had to have been through some of that and just like touched it. I mean, it's not bad for a politician, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. There's some interesting stories out of Ukraine, or there's just this update to the strategy and the situation. Like I don't do like the battle lines, like this town is halfway Russian or any of that shit. I'm like on the political level. I'm on the strategy level, thinking about what the generals are going to do and how the international dynamics and it's going to play out over the future and how it's going to affect America and everything else. So that's what I'm thinking about here. But the most important thing here really is that Zelensky, the president, Ukrainian President Zelensky, wants to fire his general, Zaluzhny, I think his name is pronounced, who is the popular commander-in-chief, like the head of the armed forces, because Zelensky's not really like a fighting man. Zelensky's role in this is to like get the money and shit from the Americans and go out and get what the country needs and to just like glue the country together until the war's over. I mean, there's people that don't like him or whatever. I think he's been critical here personally, and he's not perfect, obviously, but it is what it is. It's war. So 88% support General Zaluzhny and 62% support Zelensky. The war is dragging on, and Zelensky had very high in the beginning, obviously, but it's a long grinder war, right? Zelensky apparently maybe tried to fire him in a meeting by giving him a new job, but the general said, "Fuck no, I'm keeping my job," and it was apparently calm, but he was like, "No." And part of this is because Zaluzhny has put out his thoughts on the war, where he thinks it's a stalemate. He thinks Ukraine needs to play defense and that they need to rely heavily on UAVs, which they've been pioneers in UAVs. It's not like we talk on this shit. Like we're learning this UAV shit from them. And he wants to mobilize 500,000 more Ukrainian, mostly men, probably a lot of women. That's really the crux of this right now, is that he's saying it's a stalemate. Zelensky doesn't want to do the mobilization because his popularity will drop even more. They'll be grabbing people off the streets. A lot of the people in the military won't want to be in there. The conditions at the front line are awful, and everybody knows it. And the guys who are on the front line right now, some of them have been there for 700 days in a row. these experienced military guys out there. They've been out there. They can't rotate out. And so Zaluzny wants 500,000 more Ukrainians. So I don't know what Zelensky wants, but he has some other guys that he likes, one or two other guys that are younger or something. And so apparently the update to this is that they're saying that Ukraine essentially notified the Americans that the president was going to replace this guy, but he hasn't been replaced yet. And the soldiers like him. So the military and actually the whole country pretty much likes him. So does he have the winning strategy? I don't know. What do you think?
If the general is trying to mobilize 500,000 more soldiers, those soldiers that he's going to mobilize aren't going to like him to start off with, because they probably don't want to get involved. Or if they did want to get involved, they probably would have volunteered. So those 500,000 people, in my opinion, will not be happy that they got drafted. So his popularity will go down a lot. And how many people are actively fighting in Ukraine right now? Like, I know there's definitely not 500,000. I think they like him so much because they've probably been fighting for him. And like you said, some of these have been going for 700 days straight. And that's 700 days straight that they managed to survive day by day.
And you're not going to come out of it. You know what I mean? They're basically, these guys out there, and there's some women too, out there are like holding the line. They're like, you guys got a plan, right? It's kind of like Afghanistan. Not really. I mean, obviously way worse than Afghanistan. And okay, so I just Googled it, and it said on a quick Google that the Ukraine army is like 200,000, and then they have 230,000 of reserves. So, but they need to bring more people in so they can relieve the people at the front, get a rotation going, because Zaluzny knows that this is going to be a long-term war. And then Russia is also making it a long-term war. Russia is making 100 tanks a month, I think, which is basically enough to just like keep them going. I was reading about the artillery. I don't think we had artillery in here, but I do want to bring up the artillery because I was just reading some fresh like numbers I read on the internet on the artillery. They're saying that basically Russia's producing more artillery than Europe. And I need to get the exact numbers, but I think it was like 1 million rounds a month or something like that. And then North Korea can also make a shitload of artillery and I'll explain. But North Korea isn't using a lot of artillery. They have a lot. They can make a lot. So North Korea is making artillery. So it's basically like that alliance of the North Korea and the Russians is creating this artillery overmatch, which is basically like a huge problem here. On top of that, Putin is mobilizing more guys, and he can basically keep going back to the well because Russia is so much bigger than Ukraine. So he can just basically keep grabbing Russian men and forcing them to fight.
Yeah, he can do that until they've had enough, because I know there's been a lot of, like, when this started, a lot of Russian, like, military-aged men and their families just left the country. So a lot of them don't even want to fight, so they'd rather flee. And then there's been a bunch of people that have gotten arrested and stuff because they don't want to fight. And if you even talk bad about the war, and you might just come up missing.
Oh, yeah, obviously. I mean, there's some protests. I would say the extent of the protests that I've seen in Russia is basically like war widows and women whose men have been taken or are gone, essentially, and want them back. Who are very sympathetic, and like they're Russian women. I mean, these guys, like, they're tough, but it's like they got Russian moms. That, you know, their daughters are Russian, their sisters, their wives, and stuff. And it's like they're protesting a little bit, but it's like, you know, a group of women. I mean, they're not going to like kick the doors in and like take over the government. You know what I mean? So they've been arresting the journalists, and they have control of the information. So, but yeah, I mean, you're going to get these women that are just like not happy about it, obviously. When
all these wars go on and stuff, I like to go on Reddit, and on Reddit it's always got a bunch of like crazy videos about the war and stuff. So if you ever want to go on Reddit, like Ukrainian war, I was looking at with the Israeli Hamas war, and dude, there were some brutal videos on there. So
yeah, I bet you're living the war porn. I don't watch too much of that. I gotta kind of keep that kind of stuff out of my frontal cortex. They did these interviews with Ukrainian troops about the Zaluzny Zelensky thing. And it looks like probably Zelensky will push him out, but the guy's like kind of pushing back a little bit. All right. So Timur, a special ops operator in Ukraine, says that if Zaluzny was replaced, it would probably not affect soldier morale substantially. They all know that they just have to keep fighting. He says they like Zaluzhny's aggressive tactics against Russian forces. And he says, quote, "I don't think that this situation with Zaluzhny has a strong effect on fighters at the front. I don't think that with the help of this situation, it's possible to put pressure on the military at the front. There's no panic. People understand that there's war going on, and it's going on at all levels. The information war has been going on for a long time and will continue." You know, they're basically settling into this longer war. The troops are going to keep fighting, but they like this guy. So if you in a war, and this kind of happened to us with General McChrystal got fired, and we all generally like General McChrystal. I mean, we can nitpick the Afghanistan stuff or whatever, but he was like the quintessential Ranger commander of the GWAT, Army Ranger commander. So do you remember when McChrystal got fired? It's kind of like that, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I believe the troops that he's been with are going to be kind of upset, but when you got a whole influx of new people coming in, opinions are going to change. I do believe, the general is right about like a stalemate, because this has been going on for a while. And in my opinion, I thought that Russia was going to have all this handled probably within like the first 2 or 3 weeks of when it first started. And after that, it's just like, it's kind of been almost forgotten in the regular news, but it's still going on. And if Ukraine keeps fighting, that's good for them. But at the same time, you say Russia's building all these tanks at a rate of maybe like 100 a month. And like these tanks, it's like they can't be the best quality if they're making them so fast. They're just like producing mass numbers of tanks. And if they make so many of them, it'll be probably a lot easier to penetrate their armor, so they won't need as good of weapons to destroy these tanks anymore. But if they're building,
they need the tanks. I mean, they have the men. They obviously have the artillery. You know, they need the tanks. I mean, you know, if they're gonna need tanks if they're gonna push deeper into Ukraine. I mean, if they're just gonna play defense, like, I don't know. I mean, they probably still need tanks, but you know, we've given a lot of armor and stuff to the Ukrainians, so they have, and the Europeans. So okay, so politically, you know, we're basically backing Ukraine, footing the bill for most of it. The Europeans and others are helping some. That's being cut off by the Republicans in Congress, and they're tying it to the border, and then it's like Israel, and now the Israel aid by itself, and then they really don't want to keep fighting in Ukraine, or they keep pouring the money into Ukraine. And then there's also a distinction between like military funding and then funding for like their old people and their firefighters and shit like that. The Democrats basically want to give them all the money and so on. But the way I see it is that, you know, you do have this minority Republicans blocking more money, but it is kind of a reflection of the war dragging on. I mean, yeah, it's just a couple of people, and it's a weird political situation, but like, if we just keep pouring money into something, the strategy is never going to change. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, what we got for all that money was the Ukrainian counteroffensive, which failed and was an embarrassment, honestly. And, you know, made the situation even worse. And so this is kind of forcing the debate over it. And we have this gap between now and the election. And then, you know, depending on Biden, Trump, Congress, whatever after that. But we have like a year roughly. I don't know what's going to happen with the money. Probably don't really see a lot of money going over there. Maybe some weapons money. But the president's trying to get the weapons in there through Greece. So they found a way where we give some weapons.
They found a loophole to get it done.
Yeah, so they found a way to send some weapons that we had to Greece that Greece wants, and we did some favors for Greece. And then Greece is going to give some of their stuff that the Ukrainian wants to Ukraine. That kind of goes around this political situation, but the program that they're using only has a $500 million cap, which is like, that's not even like probably a couple of days of operations in Ukraine. So
we spent enough. I think we spent a lot of money on there. But at the same time, it's like, as long as we're not sending any soldiers there, as long as we don't get like ourselves involved in that war, because if we did, again, that'd be horrible. And I mean, why not just let the Ukrainians and the Russians fight each other off? If the U.S. and Russia were in a war, it wouldn't be good. And I know like their military strength has probably decreased quite a bit since they started a war with Ukraine. Because I mean, how many people did you lose? How much money have you spent like building all these tanks and stuff? Do they have like a program where if the soldier dies, their wife and kids get anything? Because if they did, they'd probably go broke.
I'm sure, yeah, pittance probably or something. But I mean, it's probably something. But I mean, come on, it's Russia. You know, Russia's big. You have the biggest population in Europe. They've got people to do this fighting. The thing with the money is we're losing. And it's not because there wasn't enough money. We basically wrote a blank check and gave them almost whatever they wanted, except they incrementally gave them the hard-hitting weapons. But this idea that the Ukrainians were ever going to like seriously push the Russians back, we got teased a little bit because the Russians kind of collapsed back a little bit. But when they collapsed back, they were really in a defensible area. It's a very long front and everything, but it's a Russian army. And this is like what the Russian army is designed to do. So this idea that this little Ukrainian country with this like hodgepodge of weapons, poorly trained soldiers, generals that are figuring it out, unstable situation all around. They've got good spirit and they're willing to fight and everything, but they should have been on defense. And this counteroffensive really put them in a tough position now because like if they're going to do this mobilization, they're going to be grabbing kids out of college. People are going to hate that. They're going to be grabbing old men. They're going to be grabbing women. Where do you think they're going to get 500,000 people from?
Yeah, 500,000 angry people that don't want to fight.
Yeah, they'll have the women doing like everything except the like front thing. And if you can shoot a rifle, you're going to be on the front line. I mean, basically, and it's going to be very unpopular. They're basically mortgaging the future of the country because like you're basically going to churn through all your young people who haven't even really probably most of them had kids yet or raised their families yet. So it's going to be very unpopular. Now they're running out of money and everything like that. We give them this a little bit. EU approved $50 billion for them across the whole EU, which is a lot of money, but that's for 24 through 27. So they might get some of that, and that might, keep them going for a little while longer, maybe until the United States figures it out. But yeah, obviously the Europeans are worried because if Russia doesn't get its pee-pee slapped for this, and if Putin's still just sitting there with control of his army, and now he's closer because he's into Ukraine, all these people in Europe are pretty worried about that, I would assume. So they're coughing up some money, but we're not winning. So we should keep supporting them, but we have to figure out how to win. And if this blockade of money from the ultra conservative Republicans, or not even ultra conservative, but ultra oppositional, they just opposed to stuff. It's this breakaway part of the Republicans. If they force that and be what are we doing, whatever, I think, okay. We can't just throw money at every single problem. The country's going to go broke.
Yeah. Because, as of right now, I figure Russia's military and their whole defense force is probably weakened a lot. Why hasn't, another country close to there just Red Dawned them, just taken over real quick? Because...
Russia?
Yeah, why not?
Who's going to take over Russia?
China. Why wouldn't China want to just take over Russia and just take what remainder assets they have left? I don't know. It's just a crazy thought. Just a crazy thought. What if China just wanted to just take over all of Asia? Because that's what they're doing. They're taking over the countries around there, and they've taken over a bunch of other countries just to mine minerals, resources. They're even in Jamaica, freaking doing stuff there. They're all over getting resources and supplies.
Yeah, there's resources up there, but people don't really care that much about North Asia. Even Southeast Asia. It's Southeast Asia is jungle Asia. The part of Asia that people really want to control is this East Asia, China, Korea, Japan, in that area. That's where the powerhouses are in Asia. So yeah, they could invade northern Russia or something, but is it really worth it? There's nothing up there. It's just trees. Anyway, it just doesn't look good in my opinion. It seems like we lost it. We did a good job in propping them back up and everything, but then we got them all juiced up for this counteroffensive, and it's just now.
Yeah, in my opinion, like I said, we probably should have just stuck to defense. They should have stuck to defense, and they should have start thinking about how they're going to rebuild their country, because right now a lot of it's just in rubble.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be a huge rebuild, but
and then who's going to give them money for that?
Yeah, we'll give them a ton of money when the war's over. The war's not over yet, No,
it's we should probably, instead of, we don't need to be helping them rebuild. We've helped them just defend themselves. Why are we trying to do everything all over for them? It's it's an ally, but it's why are we spending so much of the money that we could be spending on us, on America, on the people of America? But it's I just think it's ridiculous. It's you'd rather help another country than help your own people.
Well, the argument and the idea we can do both things at the same time. But the question is, we got to win this fucking war. If we spend all this money and we don't win this war, it's just another Afghanistan. It's just how many of these things are we going to lose? We talked about last week with Mason. I'll just go off on this a little bit, but or not last week, or maybe it was, I can't remember. talked about recently. Oh, yeah, Dibs. There was this lieutenant colonel guy that was talking about the U.S. military and like we can't fight two wars because after World War II, we're supposed to be able to fight two wars like Pacific and Atlantic wars in World War II, big wars and still be good to go. That's not really realistic, and we don't need that. We need to fight 0 big wars. Like we shouldn't be in any kind of like World War II invasion scenarios. The whole military needs to be reorganized around being able to fight 4 or 5 small, long wars. And we win them, okay? Because these small wars are very expensive and they take a long time to win. And all that's happening is we're spending the money and we spend the time and we fucking lose, okay? And that's just a strategy problem because we had the money and we had the time. And with this, I mean, we're going to lose this one too, probably.
Yeah, because it's not looking good. It's been going on too long. Over in Israel started and finished all this. And it wasn't that long. And over there, they're still fighting.
Well, Israel is very good at, fighting the Palestinians, obviously. I don't know who else they're going to fight. But yeah, that's a very different situation. Like, they're a much smaller country. But for us, as the most powerful country in the world, like, we need to be able to fight, like, a little bit in Africa, fight a little bit in East Asia or Southeast Asia, fight a little bit in the Middle East, whatever. Whatever we got to do, we need to be able to flex. And we need to be able to go into Yemen, go out of Yemen, go into here, out of there. And we need to stay away from these big fucking countries like Iran, Russia, China, even North Korea. We need to stay away from them and just use our economic advantage over time to like grind our enemies down, honestly. So, and use like lawyers and shit. I don't know. We do need lawyers for something. All right. Let's move on to China and AI. Have you been following the China AI, like Cold War, USA, China, Cold War thing?
Not too much, really, but I've been reading up a little bit on it.
Do you have any like general thoughts on it? We're going to get into like this like Cold War, China Cold War thing.
Yeah, it's like these chips, it's like over the last few years, ever since kind of like even Bitcoin started, a lot of chips and stuff related to artificial intelligence also started growing in popularity. Like what China is, they've been actually expanding out and going to places and actually getting minerals and stuff that's needed for these chips. And it's kind of been not really known. It's like they've been doing it, but I don't think it's not really been paid attention to that they've been doing all this. And they've probably amassed a large number of minerals, metals, precious minerals that they need to make all these chips. They've got quite a stockpile, and I'm pretty sure if they wanted to, if they got their smartest people, their most brilliant minds working on stuff, they can probably get some stuff done. But at the same time, America has been also doing it, and we have more access. So I think like in the long run, we'd probably end up getting better AI in the future than China.
Yeah, the question of them having their smartest minds working on this is important because it is a numbers game, right? Like you have a certain population, you're going to have so many engineers, so many of those are going to be like top 1% engineers, scientists, whatever, leaders. And if you just have more people, you're just going to have a compounding like knowledge and innovation benefit over time and more economic activity and just more money to invest and it'll just make things better. They have essentially 4 times as many people as us, like in population. They have like issues. Probably half their population is essentially poverty or like near poverty. And they're kind of just like messing around in in a village somewhere or whatever. So you say they're middle class and everything is like basically 2 to 1 on us. Think about innovation. But their society is putting the men up, is basically the men are leading it. And there probably is some place for women here and there, but like they're not really going to be able to tap into their female geniuses because they aren't going to be egalitarian and gender open, and let the Chinese women come out of their shell, I guess you could say. Now in America, so if you look at that, so they outnumber us 2 to 1, but they don't use their women. So it's basically just the men. So that's 1 to 1, but that includes our women. So if we have our female geniuses on the field for the next 20 years, 30 years, and our male geniuses, which we already get that, obviously, they only have their male, that kind of like evens out, but that's like a 30, 40 year competition here between all of us and our kids and their kids and everything. So it'll be, unless there's a big war, then that'll kind of like short circuit everything. But what do you think about the numbers game of them just having so many more people than us?
Well, it's a fact for sure. They probably got about 7.5 billion people. And that's a lot of people.
I think it's 1.4 billion, roughly. But their population is going down. I mean, they will not keep increasing. I mean, it's going down.
I don't know, like with AI, like what do you think about this? Like whoever gets the AI first, masters it, and actually gets like the best AI going, Why don't they just keep it to themselves and not let anybody else use it? For like example, the nuke. All right, the nuke. America built the nuke first, right? I think they did. And we used it first. And we destroyed Japan, ruined them.
Well,
What if at that point we had the nuke, everybody else was still working to get it. We had the power at that point to just nuke everybody and nobody could do anything about it. We could have taken over the world, essentially.
well,
Pretty much whoever pretty much masters AI first and does it like right and can use it for everything, essentially, wouldn't you think they'd be able to take over the world? And isn't that what China's trying to do?
potentially, the way I see it is that we can get into that a little bit more, but basically, we're talking basically about like, and I've thought about this a lot, but you could theoretically have this case of like AI imperialism, because like we essentially can't be like American imperialists and like dominate countries or like the British Empire, because now they know how to resist. And so with the TV news media and the modern like liberal politics, you can't like dominate people and just like exploit them. And not that we really want to, but I'm saying you can't. Mainly because they'll kill our young people. But us, China, whoever has this AI, you essentially have robots, which lowers the cost of violence, because they essentially, you can kill them, but they can't kill you. And we essentially could like go back on the imperialism and like conquer like gunboat diplomacy and like drop robots in like Tehran and be like, if you guys don't play ball, we're just going to start shooting everybody. I mean, like theoretically, you could do that, like in a video game. Like you just like drop robots in and like the American robots are here, you know, bend the knee. I mean, theoretically, yeah, we could do that. It'd probably be some kind of war crime or whatever. But I don't think China would really want to do that. I don't think it's possible in America because of like ethics, unless something weird happened. But I don't think China really wants to dominate the rest of the world. I think they want to dominate the area around China, because like in their mind, like China is like it. Like they really just care about China, but they also care about the stuff around it. They don't necessarily, I don't think, really want to dominate like Africa or like take over California or even Hawaii or something like that. I think they just want to be, they want to be the big dog in like their neighborhood. You know, it's like they're on the rise and they're like, you know, we're the big ones around over on this side. Right. I think that's where they're going. So, yeah, I mean, they could use it on like Vietnam. They've always like dominated Vietnam, these other countries, you know, obviously, but they're going to dominate these small countries anyway because of the massive economics, and they have like big military, obviously. So the AI, who gets the AI first? There's only two countries. It's like us or China. Like we're the only ones that can really like take it to the next level, and they're racing. So that kind of gets into like our article here. So the Ministry of Information and Technology put out a new national infrastructure policy that covers through 2027, a 5-year plan or whatever. And they're going for this massive GPU infrastructure, right? They have this problem. They can't get the GPU chips, which are these AI chips. They're calling for an ultra large scale new intelligent computing center, which would be like a massive data center on this, you know, like they do in China. They build these big things full of GPUs, training the biggest AI models in the world, like taking it to the next level. This would be like massive infrastructure, would be expensive. They're having trouble getting the GPU chips, but they need to be able to domestically produce GPU chips. They're working on that. They have this policy with this laundry list of technologies that they want to be able to produce domestically and onshore them, basically, because they can't do it now. And this is their plan to do it, and they're going to spend the money on it. So in addition to this like massive like AI brain center building, they're going for humanoid robots, which is basically a copy of Elon Musk's Optimus robot and other robots like that. They've already they just copied the SpaceX like rocket landing thing. So they copied that, like, I guess they did a couple months ago. On here, they want to get quantum computing, which they're probably behind us on quantum computing, maybe. They're also interested in human machine interface, which is also Elon Musk's like Neuralink, or like pull the computer plugs into your brain. And then they're not as high up, but they're also talking about 6G wireless technologies and blockchain. They still want to make these cell phones and sell these cell phones, Huawei, to Africa and to the world. But if they can't get the advanced chips from Taiwan companies made in, you know, whatever, the IP to make these chips, because they need these really small chips for the phones, then they essentially lose their Huawei business. They're not a leader in the mobile communications industry. So what do you think about these technologies that they're trying to get rocking in China?
I think it's actually pretty cool. I just want to see what the outcome actually ends up being, really, because you got the US and China going for the same thing. What good could could they actually do to with their countries with the AI and stuff. But yeah, I think it's like they need chips for all their computers and stuff, and definitely communications is always something that's going to be really important. So AI and communications probably going to go hand in hand together sooner or later.
Yeah, I mean, well, AI is going to touch everything. AI is on everything. You know, what I see in this is like we have this competition with China. There's like a lot of these different areas. The most important thing is AI. That is like the whole crux of the matter. This other stuff, robots, what the fuck's a robot going to do without AI, right? We've had robots. We need robots that can like do useful shit using AI.
Yeah, like on their own, not having to be controlled by nothing, just smart enough to give it a mission, give it a task, and it's whatever resources it has, it'll use and it'll try to get it done.
AI, obviously military applications. So that's super important. Robots, military, quantum computing. I mean, there's parts of it. But quantum computing, I think, is going to be part of the next generation of AI. So I think that kind of rolls up under AI when you're thinking about it. Human machine interface, also military. This other stuff too, 6G or whatever. That's more like cell phones. But this is the crux of the military competition between us and China. And Elon Musk, even from when he was much, much younger, has had his finger on the pulse of this and has been driving this type of shit for years in America. And he is really like the MVP of the USA versus China struggle here. And then on the other side, you have the, Kai-Fu Lee, who I like Kai-Fu Lee, and he's kind of straddles United States and China, but he has really clarified the competition here. And he's, Chinese man and stuff. But he's kind of impartial, but he also does investments in China and he's building AI in China. But I don't think Kai-Fu Lee wants to, build up military shit to like wipe out half of the United States or Hawaii. So if you take Elon Musk off the field here, we're fucking losing this. You know what I mean? He is driving all of this. Neuralink, his company. He's starting a new AI company. He started the best AI company in the world, which is this Tesla company. He did SpaceX and disrupted NASA. Starlink, and he basically saved the Ukraine war because our military shit couldn't provide internet to Ukraine. So Russia would have just rolled right over Ukraine if it wasn't for Elon Musk. I mean, the fact that this man like came to America and did this like saves our ass right now, honestly.
Yeah, he did do a lot, and Tesla is a really big company.
It's $1 trillion company.
It's like he's got a lot of smart ideas that actually come to fruition. So he's done a lot, and it's appreciated by the people of America and all over the world. Starlink. It was really important in Ukraine because they had very limited internet access until they got him the help. And I don't know, do they still have Starlink or is it still available for them?
Yeah. He gave them free internet for the Ukraine military. I'm sure Russia loved that. Yeah, and then he's building a military version of Starlink for the military because the military and the DoD can't fucking figure that shit out. I mean,
yeah, because this is new age technology, new age stuff, material that's pretty much never been thought about before, and this is gonna hopefully propel us into the future. And in the future, probably we are gonna have to leave Earth, and we're going to need those technologies, and we're going to need to be able to build stuff like that to save ourselves and stuff,